The Cast Compass Podcast, hosted by Michelle and Lisa Cast. Welcome to the Cast Compass Podcast. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Lisa. And we're a couple of moms, and your hosts on this wild, beautiful ride called life.
We're here to help you navigate your next phase, whether that's family building, career shifts, personal growth, or rewriting the story of what your life should look like.
Our path hasn't been traditional. IVF, job losses, parenting through chaos, starting over in our 40s. But we've learned how to trust our gut and follow our compass, even when it's scary.
Each week we'll bring real talk, a little astrology, a lot of heart, and stories that make you feel seen.
So if you're craving connection, clarity, and maybe a cocktail along the way, welcome home. Welcome to the Cast Compass Podcast. We're Michelle and Lisa, partners in life, moms to our 3-year-old son, Leo.
And guides for anyone navigating their next big chapter.
I'm Michelle. And I'm Lisa.
And this is episode 7.
The Power of Sleep, Restoring the Nervous System of Your Home. Sleep training scared the crap out of us. But spoiler alert, it changed everything.
Carolina helped us sleep again, and now she's here to help you. Carolina, thank you so much for joining us. You were a true light in one of the most sleep-deprived, confusing seasons of our parenting journey, and we're so grateful for you to share your wisdom with our listeners.
Before we dive in, Carolina is a pediatric sleep consultant, board-certified healthcare practitioner, and the founder of the Sleep Trifecta System. For over a decade, she's helped families like ours get the sleep they need by blending science and soul and empowering parents to respond with intention instead of reactivity.
We're so excited you're here, so let's dive in.
So then and now, our life before and after sleep training Leo. As some of you know, our birth story wasn't exactly storybook. Leo was born 8 weeks early, spent 5 weeks in the NICU, and had severe reflux and a cow's milk allergy. Feeding and sleep were a struggle from the moment we came home.
Because of his reflux, he had to be held upright for 30 minutes after every feed, even in the middle of the night. And, most newborns get placed back down to sleep, but Leo's discomfort made that nearly impossible. Elevating his head helped somewhat, but we were terrified, especially at home without the monitors that we had in the NICU. So we started co-sleeping, which was not comfortable for anyone.
When Leo turned 1, we gentle sleep trained with another coach, and it worked. But right after we wrapped that program, it was like he knew.
Oh, yeah.
He regressed, and we found ourselves co-sleeping again. By the time he was almost 2, we were all miserable. He didn't want to sleep in our bed, but he didn't know how to sleep on his own, and that's when we found Carolina.
Literally.
Godsend.
Via Google. Thank you, Google. Carolina was the first person who really understood we weren't cry-it-out parents. She wanted our full story, which this is what I loved. We talked for like an hour the first time. She wanted everything, pregnancy, NICU, reflux, before even suggesting a plan. Her approach was deeply supportive, but also realistic. It wasn't easy. Remember that first night?
Oh, I will never forget that night.
But it worked because it was grounded in who we were as a family.
Carolina was like, it could take from an hour to 3 hours. And I was like, I think we'll be on the lesser end. Nope.
Oh, so we're finally going to let Carolina speak. Lisa,
that's right.
Let's segue here.
So Carolina, let's start with your signature concept, the nervous system of the home. It's a phrase that stopped us in our tracks when we heard it for the first time. Can you explain what that means and how sleep plays into it?
Of course. So first of all, I'm really excited to be here. And, it's interesting that what you just mentioned about the whole cry it out, because I just had a mom reach out to me. She actually watched one of my videos. And she told me that her son cries 3 hours during his naps and she doesn't know what to do, but he sleeps good for night. So as you both know, when it comes to sleep, not sleeping is a symptom of something deeper, right? So the Sleep Trifecta System is something that I just curated in 2014. And I started to realize within the first year or so, because how I was trained through traditional sleep training, right? Like the techniques that you've read, Googled around, asked in mommy groups, maybe found out from, those TikTok therapists. And sometimes they work, right? But then there's a lot of other factors to it. So when it comes to the nervous system of the home, that means the parents. We are the matriarchs, especially as moms, right? And if the parents are off balance, their home is off balance. So our home has a nervous system just like us. So have you ever had moments when you maybe miraculously had a really great night and everything kind of was going perfect that day, right? That was also contribution to the nervous system of your home as well. And if you had a bad night, that affects everything else. So the main thing here is understanding your energy, what's kind of going on with the parent. We have a lot that's on our plates. It's not just, most actually think about sleep the moment they wake up and the moment their child wakes up. They're like, oh my God, when is nap time? I got to start counting. I got to start counting on the clock. What am I going to do? I have errands to run. What if they fall asleep in the car on the way there? This sleep consultant said this. Like, it's just like a lot going on in their mind. And the main thing that I always tell parents is come back to ground neutral, right? Like, what is within your family dynamic? How is your life right now? How stressed are you? Because you cannot, under any circumstances, do a form of cry it out, and I'm doing air quotes. And cry it out means a lot for different parents. I've had some parents that told me I did cry it out, but then I asked them, what does that actually look like for you? And they say, well, my baby just cried like 5 minutes. I'm like, that's technically not cry it out. Cry it out means you don't go in the room for a minimum of 5 to 6 hours, right? So understanding what each method really entails, and also understanding the parent's energy level, their comfort level, where you are at this moment in time is not going to be where, in a week from now. And I always taught the both of you that you got to start where you are right now because you have to stay consistent with it. Also, how do you help and ground your nervous system? You stay consistent with the tools. And also understanding how habits work, because the secret here is most people don't know that around the end of week 2 to into week 3, there's a sleep training regression period, also known as an extinction burst, right? So what happens is things might be going somewhat okay, or even maybe miraculous. And then all of a sudden, things start going backwards. Or all of a sudden your child's like, I'm not having this. Let's continue back to rocking. I'm going to hop in your bed, or start giving me more food now, or whatever the case is. So what I do is I give you realistic expectations. I don't want you waking up at 3 a.m. saying, is this normal? What's going on? I want you saying, I remember Carolina telling me this. I'm ready. I'm going to stay consistent because my child needs that from me. And that also helps you as the parent. It helps you know what to expect. And that helps you to stay grounded and focused.
So many things come to mind while you're talking that like we experience all of that.
Yes.
It shouldn't be you thinking that this is just how life is going to be. And that's the scariest part is 2 things. One is parents are trying to do other things from what someone tells them with good intentions, but they don't know their child. Can't express to you how many times I've had parents reach out to me that either their pediatrician, one of their friends, family members just tells them, just let your kid cry, like let them do whatever they got to do. But the child is either really sensitive to change, or maybe, a couple of years or several months has passed by and all they know is how to be rocked to sleep or in a stroller or in a car, right? And then right away you've ripped the Band-Aid off. Many cases, sometimes, I don't want to say many cases, but sometimes it does help kids to do it quick, but you need to know, is your child going to benefit with that? How is their temperament? And then you modify. And how you begin is not where you're going to be a week, 2, or even 3 weeks from now. And sleep training really does take close to a month to solve. So if someone tells you, oh, I can get your kid sleeping in 5 days or less, we got to look at what the reality is of that. And it's not going to be consistent. So consistency, you have to follow through. And remember, you have to get through that 2 to 3 week time frame. And that usually lasts like a couple of days. And then you go into like the clear zone, which is close to the end of the month.
I think we worked together for 3 months, right?
Yeah, we were for a while because there was also, he was going through growth developmental stages, and we walked through that. And then I think there was a point where he got sick. So we paused for some time, right? The teething, all of this fun stuff. But these shouldn't be factors that scare someone or stop a parent from wanting to get sleep.
It's true. And like, I was between jobs at the time and I was so stressed about like spending the money. It was the best money we ever spent.
I'll never forget saying to you.
Yeah.
I was like, the money will figure itself out.
Yeah.
This is something that we have to figure this out first.
It was a joy to work with Carolina. And
that wound up
we used every call right down to the last week.
I know.
And we've still touched base since.
Yes.
When Leo's had little moments.
Honestly, Carolina's fantastic. Whenever we talk about Leo and his sleep and we encounter other parents, even still now, he's in school, there's still parents who are co-sleeping with their kids and they're like, how do you do it?
And there's no judgment. Like, if it's working for your family, amazing.
No judgment. But we will always be like, let us share this contact with you. Carolina, she saved our lives.
Yeah, no, seriously. And I think one of the first things she asked me too, just thinking about your child, are you an empath? And do you think your child is an empath? Mm-hmm. Leo is 1,000% an empath. And like, he's that kid that is a little slower to change. Like, we were just talking about school. He finally hit his groove in school. And now he's going to transition to the big boy class and he's freaking out. So like, this is Leo. You have to know your kid,
Yeah. Even still, like Michelle was like, he woke up really happy, but then he got really cranky. And I was like, well, maybe because you mentioned that he's no longer going to be in that classroom in 5 days. And she was like, oh, yeah. So it's so true. Like everybody says when you bring your baby home from the hospital, you get to know one another. And you do. But at the same time, everybody's birth story is different. If you've experienced birth trauma and going through a situation like ours, we weren't able to take care of ourselves at the same time of taking care of our child mentally, emotionally. And so that is kind of very reflective of how Leo was as well.
The first 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, how he was as well. So
he's definitely very sensitive to emotions and what everyone's going. We think that he remembers the NICU. Carolina, you're very like immersed in this world and like understand energy and like I feel like you would know this. Like, do you think it's possible that a 3-year-old could have that like soul memory of like the way he came into the world?
Oh, we're really going to go there, huh?
I feel like you say yes, and I feel like yeah.
Yeah, I mean, of course that they would have, recollection of it, but it's different. It depends on, that would be another podcast episode on its own.
We'll have to come back to that for another episode. I love it.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things that started opening up for me in the last few years, especially with imaginary friends and things that were not being able to be solved with traditional medicine and traditional sleep training. And I actually had to reach out to some of my energy workers to really help me with it. Especially, and I really love the fact that both of you just mentioned the birth process, right? Because just because one parent is the birth parent and then the other parent is there as like the holder, that's like really what you are, the supporter, you also don't know how to help your significant partner, right? And that birth process plays a huge role in sleep.
Mm-hmm.
If kids were born with a C-section, if like my son, when he was born, they gave me the epidural and I don't know what I was pushing. I was holding my breath and they're like, push. I'm like, I think I am. They're like, no, you're holding your breath. I'm like, well, then tell me what I need to do because I don't know what I'm doing. So finally he came out, but he had forceps that needed to be assisted to help him out. Now, I didn't know anything about cranial sacral or pediatric chiropractic work.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything about generational lineage connections, right? Also known as, some people know it like as generational trauma or whatever you kind of want to name it as.
Mm-hmm.
All of that started coming up in the last couple of years. And that's when I started to kind of navigate in different realms where I became a Reiki practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
And I started incorporating that with my little clients too.
Love it.
Because if they, like right now I'm working with a mom who she is 2 under 3, and it's very difficult for her because she's also nursing school and she also has a business and she's with them majority of the time by herself, but she has an amazing nanny. But both kids are like yelling at her constantly, like they both need things, right? And you can't cut yourself in half. So one of the factors is I asked, and I just watched a quick video on the energy of like the kids. Like she just showed me like a picture and I could already pick up on it in the fact that they're picking up on the energy of the mom.
Mm-hmm.
So we started working on Reiki on the mom to help her nervous system calm down. I connected her with one of my functional nurse practitioners that's on my team as well to help her with nursing school, all of that, like, kind of get her body in the groove without actual like medication, even though like I believe in that, but everyone needs something different. So she went to the nurse practitioner. We did Reiki sessions. Now her toddler, like we don't even have to do sleep training with her. She's
Wow.
just like a chilled out kid.
Yo, I'm gonna be
So,
hitting up Carolina because Leo's yelling at me all the time.
Yeah.
Literally,
but it's
Carolina,
not,
3 times a day at least. I'm like, Leo, don't yell at me. Please don't yell at me.
well,
He's feeling
my
that mama
my
is very stressed.
what's funny for me though is my kids always yelled as well. And I remember when I first became a mom and they were in daycare, the instructor there told me, well, toddlers and preschoolers only have two volumes, loud and louder. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense now. So right now they're louder. Let's get to loud. And it balances out with that. But there's so much more to this that I have
Hmm.
found. And unfortunately, I really haven't been able to find sleep consultants, or maybe they're out there and I haven't connected with them that do both sides, right? Like both on the science and the behavioral aspect,
Hmm.
but they also dive deeper into the not necessarily the spiritual, you can call it that, but also the energy work because energy is the same. Acupuncture is energy, chiropractic work is energy, right?
Hmm.
Because they have to make sure everything's flowing in your body.
Hmm.
So it's just a different realm of it. And that's when I started to incorporate it and I started to train professionals in
That's
my process.
amazing. We've had Leo at the chiropractor since he's 5 months old.
That's right. Yeah, because we
The cranial
found the
sacral.
cranial sacral
Yeah,
work,
because he was C-section.
and
So
we do, we attribute that to a lot of his developmental
absolutely.
successes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I love this energy talk, and I definitely think this could be a whole other episode, and I'm totally going to hit
definitely.
you up for some Reiki. So we'll talk more about that. And Carolina has an offer for people who are interested in it as well. So we'll bring it back, though, to like the whole idea of the sleep, right? The sleep training, the nervous system of the home. So, we want to help parents who maybe have fears about sleep training, how to overcome that. So we didn't plan to close sleep, right? We weren't opposed to it, but it just wasn't necessary. Nothing we planned happened.
Exactly.
Nothing about Leo's journey went according to plan, and we did have to be flexible. But, still making the call to shift our sleep habits, it was scary. And we knew it was time, though, because no one was sleeping.
Right.
What would you say to parents who are nervous that sleep training will make their child feel abandoned? And I know your method doesn't make children feel that way, but, how do you put those fears to rest?
So that's not possible unless the parents are completely neglecting the child all the time. You can't separate night and day. So if you are very affectionate during the day, which many of us are, but then at night you're like, you know what? I want you to be in your own room. I don't want to like do anything. Just turn off the lights and close the door. Depending on the age, some kids can handle that and some need a proper wind down time. Like I always preach that we are not on and off switches, we're dimmers.
Mm.
So you have to, easily get into the process of sleep. If the moment that your head hits the pillow and you fall asleep, you're actually like really sleep deprived.
Mm.
So with kids, that was really funny how the two of you just looked at each other. You're like,
That's me.
uh-oh.
Both of
Yeah.
us.
But us as adults, we also have our own habits, right? Like how do we usually fall asleep? We usually have our phone, we scroll, we read, we engage in adult activities. It's different, right? Per person. You have your healthy habits and then you have your not so healthy habits, right? The same thing goes for kids.
Mhm.
So what are the healthy habits that are being instilled and what are the not so healthy habits? For toddlers, they're actually my favorite cases. And when I told you that, you both laughed at me. I remember that. You're like, you must be kidding me. You have never met my kid. I'm like, listen, toddlers are practically like the same, most of them. You just
They
have
are.
them like a little, it's depending on their energy level and their sensitivity level. I've met kids that see auras.
Oh,
That
Leo,
again,
definitely. Yeah.
yeah, that'll be a different topic, but like they've literally said it. And it's pretty cool. I'm like, what color am I? And they'll say you're violet, depending on my day. But it's fun. And you can see colors using different technology that we have. So why can't you see it with your own eyes, right? Just because we as other people, if we're blocked off on our own senses and we can't see it, touch it, taste it, right? Or feel it, we might think it's not true. But the same thing, what about gravity? You can't see it or feel it.
Right.
You know it's there. It has to be there because then everything goes from up to down. So with toddlers, it's really simple. They just are looking for consistency, the same pattern. Now, here's the kicker to this. Most parents tell me, well, we have a really great routine. We have a pattern. I'm like, well, what's your pattern? What's going on? And they always say the same thing, which is, it's interesting. So most of it is, majority of the time is parents start off with really good intentions. They have a really good bedtime, like dinner, bath, book, bed. That's just typical. But then some add extra into it, like a prayer or something else that's important to them. And they might sit there for a couple of minutes by their bed and then they'll leave and then they're fine. Sometimes toddlers fall asleep pretty good. But then 2 a.m. happens or midnight happens. And parents are usually going to bed at that time. They're like, I'm done. I have to go to work tomorrow. Why don't you come in my bed? We'll sleep there for tonight. Hope and pray to the sleep gods that tomorrow will be better. And it's not. And then you just, next thing you know, like months pass by, a year passes by. It's really super simple. It's just to tell them what to expect and stay consistent with it, knowing that they will protest. But that's because they need to do that. They're pushing boundaries. It's just a developmental normality, right? It's nothing wrong. It pushes our buttons because we're adulting all the time. But for our kids, it's just, hey, spend time with me. That's one. And two is, I'm not liking this. I want to be in charge. So putting them in charge is simple, where you can give them PJ options. So usually, like I'll say, give 2 PJs. Let's say, I don't know, blue and red. And you'll say, okay, you could pick either blue or red. These are your PJs. So if they say, no, I don't want it, okay, they could sleep naked. It doesn't matter. But I've had parents that would tell me, well, can they really do that? Can they like not sleep in their crib? I'm like, yeah, if they don't want to, they don't have to. So sometimes I've had to transition from a crib to a Montessori style, which is a floor bed, and that's okay. So the thing is where all of this comes from is, how do you ground yourself? How do you ground your home? Because that's the nervous system, right? What are the tools? And whatever goal you have in mind, you can always achieve it if you put the small pieces in place along the line for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes you have to pause,
for sure,
which is okay.
I love that.
We saw that too.
Yes.
And we always have to give Leo choices, I feel like.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Because it really, really works, especially, as he's getting older, he does want that independence, that autonomy. He, and he loves it. We notice in a blink of an eye, like all of a sudden the switch will go off and he'll be a completely different person. He'll be like, that's what I want. And then I'll be like, okay, time to go into the bathtub. Whereas it was like a huge fight to get him into the bath. So as soon as like we give him, even with giving him, like if he's sick and he needs medicine, be like, okay, well, would you rather this worse one?
Yeah.
Or do you want this one? And he's like, always chooses the right one that we need him to take. But anyway, choices are really, really important. I mean, we all want choices. So, these little, tiny little adults.
Little adults.
Toddler adults.
So funny.
It's interesting to watch and to see as he grows as well. So what are the biggest mindset blocks you see around sleep training?
Fear.
Yeah.
The first one is fear of abandonment, fear of I'm not doing it right, fear of what if this comes back? Will I have a life?
Yeah.
I have to be too strict about this. Right. But again, this is all temporary stuff. Guilt, there's a lot of guilt, and guilt goes in an umbrella of what that could look like. It could even be something as simple as, my friend's kid sleeps amazing. What am I doing wrong that my child isn't doing it?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong. There's no one that is broken. There's nothing wrong with anything. Everybody has their own way, and it's okay. And it's just to understand your child in their way. Like I have families where like the dad is really strict and the mom is the opposite. And I sometimes end up being like an unofficial marriage counselor between the two of them. But the main thing that happens is, you're a team. So when there are two parents involved, if you're married, if you're together, or even if you're divorced, when it comes to your child, then your child needs to know that you're a team.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things that I mentioned to the both of you when we started working together is I'm like, okay, who's going to do what? Here are your duties. If you're going to, tag team each other in the middle of the night, that's great. Bottom line, stick to the same story.
Mm-hmm.
There's no good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
You do the same thing. At points, you're like robots.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a point, he'll start to get it
Mm-hmm.
and it'll be easier and easier. And it's also okay. I do want to mention here, if there are any dads that are listening to this or anyone else that is more masculine, I guess, or more intense or don't know how to be healthy with their emotions, and your child is emotional, that's a mirror image for you to look within yourself. You are not comfortable with expressing all emotions besides being happy, laughing, like the good things. Sad emotions are also good. Being upset, being angry, they're good. Their emotions are all healthy. It's just how you navigate and how you learn. Unfortunately, many of us that come from families, from our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, right? They've escaped. They've tried to survive. There's a lot that went through. The blessing is the parents in today's world that I'm helping, that I am one myself. My kids are teens now. You guys, everyone that's listening here, we live in such an amazing time. And I know that it doesn't seem that way, most of it, but we are much more aware of all of this. And we are consciously choosing to raise our kids in a different way, to choose to teach them their own strengths. At the same time, we're doing the work on ourselves. And that's where it can be difficult, if you want to use that word, right?
I mean, it's so crazy. Like I even think about like two things that come up for me there. One, my like own personal therapy got so much better after I became a parent. So many things just like clicked for me.
Yeah.
And like the work just became deeper. It came easier. Yeah. So it's so funny that you mentioned that. And then I talk about this with people all the time, and Lisa probably knows what I'm going to say. Like, I am not an emotional person. I am not a shy person. My baby boy, I don't know how it happened. He's my mirror, right? He's so shy. He has so many emotions. And like all the time, I'm like, how did I get such a sensitive, shy, emotional kid? And like, I thought, I'm going to bring it to astrology because that's what I do. I thought I was having an Aries April baby. Like, and I was like, I'm a Leo. I got Aries rising. I know exactly what I'm doing with this Aries boy. This is what I know. My dad was an Aries. My brother was an Aries. Like, I know fire. And then I ended up with a mushy little sweet, which I'm obsessed, emotional Pisces. And like, I tell people all the time, it's such a lesson for me. It really is. Like, it's good for me. It teaches me to like slow down, have some patience. Patience is not my virtue. Understand his sensitivities. Like, it's been a growth experience even for him being in school to see him shy with other kids. There's days where I'm like, oh my God, there's something wrong with him. Why is he afraid of other kids? He's coming around now and he's totally like great with other kids. Yeah. But for me to be someone who's so fast and out and quick and not emotional, it's been like, wow, what an adjustment. Thankfully, Lisa's more emotional. So it's been a little easier for you.
We've been really lucky that throughout our entire relationship and our lives now, even motherhood, we balance each other really, really well.
Yeah.
But what's amazing about Michelle is that she recognizes all this,
very
right?
Self-aware.
And very quickly she can adjust and be like, okay, this is what he needs. And even though I do the same, there's just something about, like, it's so interesting how quickly you're just like, okay, I got to pivot. This kid needs me to get on his level and understand. And it's amazing to see. And I think that same thing happened even, honestly, when we needed to sleep train as well. I mean, if you look at what we all went through, I think that also I know we say we weren't sleeping, everyone was miserable. That wasn't always the case through it. We actually, there was a period of time where we really did enjoy co-sleeping.
The snuggles, yeah.
We loved the snuggles. We loved, like, you know, he'd roll over and snuggle up with one, and then he'd roll over and snuggle up with the other, you know, but like we also needed that. Like there was something that we lacked in his coming into the world.
So early.
And we were all sort of like, you know, kind of getting something from one another during that co-sleeping process. And so, you know, Carolina really taught us how to recognize these things and put it all into play and heal together as a family.
For sure.
Yeah, I think.
I love that you mentioned the co-sleeping though, because I'm not against it.
Right.
It's just you have to do it in a healthy way. And if it makes sense to your family.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember you saying
he wasn't sleeping, so it wasn't making sense.
Yeah, she's like, Carolina was like, yep, okay, let's get started.
Oh my God, he would like claw at me and like want to get out of the bed. And she was like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
He knows. This is what Carolina said exactly. He wants to sleep on his own. He just doesn't know how. So we had to teach him how. You said a good thing.
No, but it's true, right? Because it's important for us to take a step back many times. I've had parents that would be rocking their kids to sleep and they're like, I don't know what to do. And we're working together maybe like for a couple of days. And I'm like, something's not clicking. Can you send me a video of what's going on? I'm very anal. I'm very detailed. Like I'll ask, I'll even show up at your house if I think something's not going on like properly, because my main thing is I don't want anyone wasting their energy or their time. So bottom line is when I'm working with a family, we're all in it. As long as everything's, you know, realistic expectations. If the child has been rocked to sleep, they're a year old, and you expect in 3 days for them to sleep through the night. No, that's not good. Like, really? No. But with co-sleeping, it's so common. And here's the thing is, so many people are really ashamed of it.
Yeah.
Like they call me and they whisper on the phone. I'm like, is this getting recorded? Like, why are you whispering? It's okay. It's okay. You want to bed share? Fine. I'll scream it from the rooftops. However, if you are so sleep deprived, so beyond sleep deprived, and your child is in your arms, that is dangerous. Okay. Then they tell me, well, you know, in the UK or in other places, they do this. Great. But do you know the maternity leave in the UK that's different than here? Maybe other families have more support. So it's looking at the whole overall aspect of this. That's just making sure that it makes sense for everyone.
Yeah, and that's actually an amazing transition. So, Carolina, you have created so many thoughtful tools to support parents who want to make changes in their sleep routines but are feeling overwhelmed or afraid to start. One that really stood out to us was your free audio training, which is a great place for people to start. Can you tell us more about it and who it's for?
Yes. So it actually came from a client where I was working with them. It was almost 2 months. Yes, it can take some time. And I'm like, you know what? This is very much needed. So I recorded 4 hours, a specific recording that I really wished was created. So it's I first actually wrote the guide, and then I'm like, no, I want to talk. People need to hear my voice. They need to hear the tonality. When you are in the middle of someone screaming at you, or if you're doing laundry, why would you want to sit and read something 40 pages? I wouldn't. I get bored. Like I'll read half a page and I'll fall asleep. So for me, it's audio. So the whole thing is, it's a compassionate guide for parents that are wanting to start to sleep train. So it talks about fears. It talks about everything that's in our mind, talks about attachment parenting, talks about attachment science, talks about different things to look in the home, including the nervous system, including our energy, including the times, right? Timing of sleep is so important. Nighttime is a reflection of the day. So if your child is not getting the adequate amount of time of naps, like for their age, so let's say, for example, if they're 6 months and they are taking 3 naps, but you have them on 1 nap, hello, that's not going to work. Right? Because they're not getting enough sleep. So I always tell parents, if there's not a balance with how many hours, because they could be taking, let's say, 3 naps at that age, but maybe each nap is 20 minutes. That's still not enough. So what happens to the body is it automatically kicks in adrenaline. It's almost like you give them, you know, like an energy boost, like a drink.
Yeah.
And then, everything breaks from there.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens and how you save that, I teach a little bit in the guide where you just bump up bedtime, and bedtime can be as early as 5:30,
Yeah.
even for a toddler, if they don't take their sleep, because
Right.
it doesn't just go away. If
Mm-hmm.
the daytime sleep is poor,
Right.
that's you're guaranteed 100% night wakings.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's always the first thing that I do is I first focus on, and it doesn't matter if the child has any any type of like medical issues or anything like that. You always want to start off with the schedule first. That's the easiest thing that you can do to get it balanced.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I went into creating the courses and all of that. But I promise you that just organically came out.
I love that. That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I did.
It really is fantastic. I love that little gap you're filling in the market, really,
Yeah, for
that
sure.
parents need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you also offer more in-depth courses for families who are ready to take the next step, especially those looking for a self-paced approach.
Yeah.
What can people expect from those?
So I created the Sleep Trifecta System bundle. The Sleep Trifecta System, that's actually my unique process in how I work with clients. I put in there all of the methods that I use, how I break them down. You've probably heard many of them, but I teach you how to actually use them and how to figure out, is this what you need? You should not be hiring a sleep consultant to give you one method and, just coach you through it. That's not how this is. The other thing that I do want to clear on is in two things. One is this industry at this moment in time, while you're listening to this, is not regulated. Okay. That can be not very pleasant for some people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's important for you to interview your sleep consultant. It's important for you to look at reviews.
Mm-hmm.
That's also something else because with ChatGPT, you can make up stuff. So that's another thing. But it's important for you to talk to them. It's important for them to know how to customize a technique for you. Because remember what I said, how you start mostly should not be how you end.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be a transitional point, especially helping you with feeling grounded and feeling heard during the process. And sometimes you have to be, handheld majority of the time. That's for me, that's what happened with me with my all of my coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I put together in this course where I keep it simple. It's two main courses. One is the sleep training methods, and then two are sleep habits. So if your child's being rocked to sleep, fed to sleep, using a pacifier, stroller, or maybe they're in a car, the most common scenarios, I explain to you why you are where you are, and then I tell you how to get out of there, but in a way that makes sense to you. I also educate you on what is a habit? How does a habit form for yourself and for your kids?
I
So
literally still have like you in my head when it comes to the habits. Like I'm still to this day kind of afraid to go into Leo's room when he wakes up in the middle of the night, which is so rare. Now he's good and he's like, okay, bye, mama. But like I still have Carolina in my head with the habits.
most people do,
Yeah.
even like a couple of years later, but
Mhm.
they're so afraid of going back into the room. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you have my blessing. You're fine. Don't worry about it.
Mhm.
It's okay. It's not like it's going to start going backwards. And if anything, you could always give me a call.
That's right.
But with that, also with the course, remember what I said about the schedules. So I started creating the schedules a while ago. I used it with all of my private clients. All of these methods, everything that I have in this course, the whole point of it is how I talk to my clients, how I teach you what I say. It's all in there.
That's
That you can use. And then I added the sleep schedules as well. But the sleep schedules are not just what you need.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing that I did is I'm the type of person where I need to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, especially if it has to do with my children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I included in there explaining what sleep science is, what sleep schedules are. There's also two schools of thought on sleep schedules. Most parents hear of awake windows. I do include that, but then there's also an easier way called biological times, which I guided, both of you
Yeah.
through that.
Mhm.
So I give both of those options. There's no right or wrong. It's just whatever's easier for you. One has a little more math involved, and then the other one is just by the clock. And I give that for you for free.
That's
I
awesome.
have it based on per age also because a 6-month-old and a 1-year-old have two different aspects, right?
Right.
So it's not the same schedule.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and I wanted to also add in there what happens developmentally.
Mhm.
So I have them split in separate age groups, and you get all of that for free with the course. Or if you just want the sleep schedules, you could get those individually.
That's awesome.
But
And Carolina is giving such a generous offer to our listeners. If you want to get the whole bundle, which I do think it's worth it. And it's great too, because like we worked with Carolina one-on-one, which you can also do. But like if you want to just do like the self-led and like grab this, such a great option. And $100 off the Sleep Trifecta System bundle for our listeners with the code SLEEPBUNDLE100. We'll put the links in the show notes so you can explore what feels best for your family. But that's so generous. Thank you so much for offering that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's really
my
fantastic.
pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure. One thing though that I just realized is what I was saying about the industry is the fact that I've seen sleep consultants are kind of like divided. So if you're a parent and you don't know who to connect with, there's some sleep consultants that are talking about no sleep training. Like I don't teach you that. And then there are consultants that do sleep training. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what is your philosophy? It's all marketing. That's really what it is. And I want you to understand that, right? Like this is a big industry. So it's important for you just to choose whoever is important to you and you connect with.
It's true. And like whether you're totally new to sleep training or whatever version of sleep work you need to do, or you just need some tools to course correct, it seems like, there's something here for you. I could talk to you all day. We did this on all our calls with Carolina. Like we could talk for hours. We always go off topic. We always talk about energy. Let's do a couple of fun questions. I already know your zodiac sign. She's a Leo, y'all, just like me.
Yeah.
Duh.
Obviously.
Full blown.
July, right?
Yeah, 26.
Yep, I remember.
Actually asked me that during our interview, and I'm like, how'd she know? This is pretty cool.
I was like, are you a
It's
Leo?
fun.
I always know.
So, as a sleep coach, what's your non-negotiable wind down ritual?
Well, the main thing is if I've had a tough day, I don't allow myself to go to sleep with it. So I either do like breathing techniques, I walk outside, I, talk it out either to myself or with my husband. But if something is heavy on me, I always have to release it, because what happens is when you go to sleep, whatever you're feeling at that time goes into your subconscious, and then it starts to form beliefs. So that's a big non-negotiable for me.
I love that.
That's
so important to
amazing.
remember.
Yeah.
We were going to do a fun little before we slept memories from sleepless nights. I will say one funny thing. We don't have to say both here.
Okay.
In the height of our non-sleeping before we met, like literally right before we met Carolina, Lisa went to an OBGYN appointment, or maybe it was our PCP. It was the same office.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure it was
And she was backing the car out. This is before we found Carolina and started
It was
sleeping.
one of those garages with the gigantic poles that they expect you to like park an SUV without hitting it.
Oh my God.
Yep. And she was sleep deprived, crazed, working, rushing. And she sure side-swipe crashed that car.
I did. Wiped out the whole side of it.
Thank
one
God.
Of those giant poles.
Thank God we found Carolina.
Thank God for car insurance.
Did you tell me that story?
I don't know.
Remember.
I don't think so.
I don't remember.
I don't think we told many people, but now we're telling the world.
Okay. Well, I'm happy that you called me.
Yeah, we slowed down after that. We started getting
Did you
some
get a
rest.
new car after?
They fixed it.
They fixed it.
Yeah, it was our old car.
It was our old car. Yeah.
They should put that
Listen.
into insurances. If you're sleep deprived,
Right?
we're going to cover this, like for car.
Yeah, we will
cars.
not cover you sideswiping your car because your kid doesn't sleep. Listen, if you are listening to this and nodding along, definitely check out Carolina's free audio training. It'll be linked in the show notes. It's like having a sleep whisperer in your pocket, especially if you're nervous to start.
Absolutely. And if you're ready to take things further, she's offering $100 off her full course bundle with code SLEEPBUNDLE100. Again, such a generous offer. Thank you so, so much. Get ready to reclaim your nights with that.
Absolutely. Whether you're deep in the sleep trenches or finally finding your rhythm, we'd love to hear from you.
DM us your biggest struggle or your proudest bedtime win, because that's really important.
Yeah.
We might even share it in a future episode.
Carolina, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your wisdom and tools. I think we definitely have to have you back to talk more about energy.
Absolutely.
Again, I could talk to you
I
forever.
love it.
You're such a gift to us, and now you're a gift to everyone listening.
Thank you
I
so
really
much,
appreciate it.
Carolina.
This is fun.
Good.
Thank you to everyone who tuned in. We're so glad you're here with us on this journey.
And next week, we're taking you behind the scenes of what it really looks like to build a podcast, a brand, and a business from scratch while parenting, posting, thankfully sleeping, just not enough, and trying to stay sane.
It's messy and it's magical, and it's one of our most honest episodes yet. You don't want to miss it.
Be sure to follow and subscribe so you never miss an episode. If this already feels like home, which we really hope it does, leave us a review and share with a friend.
And let us know what you want us to talk about next. We're building this with you.
Bye. The Cast Compass Podcast. New episodes every week.
Follow, rate, and share with someone who needs a little direction.